This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
The Rita Cosby Show. Entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, well, Tuesday is primary day in America, and there's another doozy of a Democrat who is on the ballot. This one is Maher Quiros, and she is someone who's an interesting background, that's for sure. She's a former barista, sounds a lot like AOC, remember, who was a former bartender. She's a former barista, I guess that's coffee and things like that. She's pursuing her PhD. She's a former corporate attorney who there's reports that she got let go after she wrote an anti-Israel letter after October 7th. And she has not backed away from her very staunch Democratic Socialists of America policies. Now, remember, it was in Colorado that Mohammed Solomon, that was the guy who firebombed those people who were protesting at that Jewish event. It was horrific. It was June of last year. He even came out and said, this is why I did it, because I was looking for Jews. He is Muslim. It was just a horrible anti-Semitic, vile, disgusting attack. And this woman, this Maher Quiros, still isn't sure if that was an anti-Semitic attack. And she also is trying to challenge Diana Leggett. Now, Diana Leggett, Democrat in Colorado, she's been for abolish ICE, so it's not like, I guess that's still sort of a mainstream Democrat, if you will, as frightening as that is. But that is still a mainstream Democrat ideal. But she's been in Congress for 29 years. And now this Maher Quiros is hoping to beat her in the primary tomorrow night and make a run for Congress there full-fledged as the nominee. We'll find out what happens. We'll all be with us together because we'll find out hopefully around the same time. We always seem to learn in the Rita Cosby Show when these races come down. But listen to Maher Quiros. This woman, as she tries to justify 9/11 and claims that 9/11, that horrific attack where 3,000 Americans nearly died as a result of the hijackers and the planes, that she says that it was essentially almost inevitable. Basically, America deserved it. Listen to this.
Do you believe that the 9/11 terrorist attacks on America were the inevitable consequence of American foreign policy?
Inevitable in the sense that we destabilized a lot of the Middle East, that forced people to believe that another act of violence was the only response. And again, just like I said before, our responsibility is to getting rid of those conditions that lead to violence in the first place.
That's the craziest answer. Inevitable based on the policies that created the moment. And then she was asked about October 7th. Listen to what she said about October 7th.
Is it a suggestion that Israel had it coming?
No, not at all. It's about understanding the conditions in which violence and war happens, right? Israel is a country that has been accused of apartheid and occupation for decades now and has been able to resist any kind of change despite all of the frustration on the world stage that people have had for the conditions that Palestinians have been living in. And I hope that as an ally, that Israel claims to be, that they would be responsive to our demands to make sure that they change those conditions so that we can actually finally start to the work of peace building and delivering aid to the people in need.
Do you believe that the 9/11 terrorist attacks on America were the inevitable consequence of American foreign policy?
Inevitable in the sense that we destabilized a lot of the Middle East, that forced people to believe that another act of violence was the only response. And again, just like I said before, our responsibility is to getting rid of those conditions that lead to violence in the first place.
You recently campaigned with Hassan Piker. He's got a huge streaming audience. Do you agree with his statement that Hamas is a lesser evil than Israel?
No, I don't.
That's a doozy. That is a doozy. You see her trying to make excuses left and right. And she knows certainly who Hassan Piker is, and yet continues to campaign with him and also continues to make excuses, saying it's this cycle of violence perpetuated by Israel. That's what created October 7th. It's America, the boogeyman, the bad ones in their mind that created this moment, I guess, for them in their mind, tied to everything tied to 9/11. I mean, it's just disgusting, as opposed to saying, no, this is horrible. It shouldn't have happened. I mean, you can't get any more ridiculous. And I think just unpatriotic when I hear it. It sends chills down my spine. And then here she is. She's asked about Israel and weapons to Israel. She doesn't hold back on this one, too. Listen to this.
You've called Israel's actions in Gaza genocide. You've called for an arms embargo against Israel. Would that include the U.S. selling or financing defensive weapons that Israel uses to protect itself against rocket attacks from Hezbollah or Iran?
Yes. Yeah,
it would.
It would.
Why not differentiate between offensive weapons used to wage war against another population and then defensive weapons that are used to protect civilians from outside attack?
I believe that our selling of arms to Israel, defensive or offensive, gives them the cover to continue the genocide that's taking place in Palestine and now the ethnic cleansing that's taking place in Lebanon. Again, this is a position of a supermajority of voters in this country. We want our taxpayer dollars to fund our resources and programs here in America, not to fund the genocide abroad.
Genocide abroad. Of course, she's referring to Israel. No mention of Hamas. I mean, this is just, it's so Democratic Socialist playbook, anti-Semitic, and just promoting hate. I mean, it really is shocking. We're seeing more and more of them. And then she was asked, get this, as I mentioned, she's a barista. I read you some of her credentials. It's not like she's qualified to run for Congress, nor was AOC, by the way, for that matter. Remember, she was a bartender and she beat Joe Crowley, who was a bigwig in the Democratic policies and Democratic politics at that time. And she had a huge upset when she came in. Obviously, some of these others that we've heard of, it's not like Chevalier had a lot of experience or some of these others either. But they have a good smile, I guess, and they have a big backing from the Democratic Socialists. So listen to Milad Kiros. Again, she's on the ballot tomorrow in Colorado. And she's asked, what is your background? How do you feel that you could even be qualified? Listen to this.
You were 1 year out of law school at a elite global law firm, is how they describe themselves, before you got fired for writing an essay that was critical of Israel. You came home to enroll in a PhD program. You've been working at a coffee shop. What life experiences and knowledge do you have to be effective in Congress?
Yeah. Well, the first I would describe as the life experience of just being a young renter in this city, being a tip to minimum wage worker, and Denver is the fifth least affordable city in the country right now. And so experiencing what it's like to stretch your paycheck and try to pay for rent, try to pay for health insurance, try to pay for your car note, all of those things, the proximity to that struggle, I think is something that's important to have when you're going to Congress to represent the people of the city.
When you talk about knowing financial struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, you're knowing financial struggle by choice.
Yeah.
You are a corporate attorney who's going to get a PhD.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that you're having trouble making ends meet when you step out of that world, but you kind of chose to step out of that world.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. But I did grow up with the same struggle, right? I immigrated here in 98 when I was a baby. My dad had nothing to his name when we first moved here. And so I watched him and my mom work 2 to 3 jobs at a time. I watched them try and figure out how to stretch those dollars for our rent, to stretch those dollars for me and the resources that I needed.
So she's a renter and an immigrant and works in a coffee shop, and that makes her qualified to be a member of Congress, so she says. Let's go to Dom in Minnesota, line 1. Dom, this is a scary place in a lot of ways.
Yeah, Rita, can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. Go ahead.
Joe Biden is a walking, talking example of climate change for the Democratic Party, and they refuse to believe it. And Kami Mamdani seems to be the Democrat answer to the climate change being created by Joe Biden.
The climate cancer is a good way to describe it, I think, right?
Yeah, and I think maybe after the midterms, there will be a new barista being led by AOC.
Wait, you dropped off there, Dom. There'll be a new what?
New barista caucus led by AOC.
I know. By the way, it's so funny, Dom. I had to laugh when I saw that she's a barista, right? And then, which is usually like coffee, like you said. And then AOC was a bartender. So, what is it? When you serve drinks, whatever, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic, I guess you could have Bailey's in your coffee. But alcoholic or non-alcoholic, that qualifies you to be a member of Congress. Is that not? I mean, it's pathetic. It's dangerous and it's crazy.
It is dangerous. I think the Republicans have to play up these things. Even Bill, he says his vote is in play if the socialists win in November.
Yes, I heard that. Bill Maher, and I thought that was a very powerful comment. There he was. At the time, I think he was talking to J.D. Vance at the time and saying that, his vote is, that it's up, that he would see where things go, but that he would consider, voting for potentially somebody else. Because he said these people are just nuts. I mean, he said you can't trust. In fact, let me play that. This is cut number 12. This is Bill Maher saying exactly that he said, my vote's in play if it continues this crazy path.
This is where the Democratic Party is going, where this Democratic Socialist, this obsession with Israel, with the Jew hating, they don't believe in capitalism, no prisons. If this is where they're going, my vote is in play.
Okay.
And
I like to hear that.
It actually always has been. Every year, I don't make my decision by who has an R or a D. I actually always came to the conclusion that the Democrat was probably better.
Sure.
And voted for them.
Okay.
And Trump can't run again, and he'd be a little too exciting for me anyway. So it's either going to be you or Rubio.
That was very interesting. There he is talking to J.D. Vance. And he said Trump would be too exciting for him. But he said, my vote's in play, especially based on all this anti-Semitic stuff. And then here's a little bit more. Here's a warning for Democrats. Take a listen to what Bill Maher said.
Fox Digital catching up with Bill Maher, who says that Democrats better watch out for the socialists who could shatter their midterm dreams, in his opinion. Watch.
And then the Democrats just elected 3 very far left Democratic Socialists in New York who are crazy, like outright really crazy. So, how are they going to blow it? I don't know, but they seem to be well on their way.
They seem to be well on their way, and the candidates are outright crazy. Dom, you agree?
Yeah, I do, and I think Republicans are smart. They should nuke the filibuster and pass the Save America Act. That's the thing that's standing in the way.
Well, and the issue is right now they have to get the votes. That's the key. They got to make sure that they have the votes if they're going to nuke the filibuster, because it still has to pass. At that point, still has to pass by simple majority. You would think they would have it because they obviously have a few extra seats. But then there's a number of Republicans. Maybe it's a different deal if they know that it comes down to the wire. They might vote differently, but like Lisa Murkowski and some of the others. In fact, President Trump was calling her out by name today, Lisa Murkowski in Alaska, who has not been voting in favor of that so far. so far. Obviously, Alaska is a little more middle of the road, but come on. I mean, come on. This is common sense. She should be looking at the polls because every American, Republicans and Democrats, it's like 80-90% approval. They want it. It's the Democrats of Trump derangement syndrome, and she shouldn't succumb to any of them. She should be looking at the polls and saying, look, everybody wants this, and that's the common sense approach. I agree with you. I just hope that this can happen soon, because guess what? The clock is ticking towards the midterms, guys. 1-800-848-9222. And everybody, we will continue your calls on The Rita Cosby Show when we come back.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Welcome to a new era of baseball's great spectacle. The T-Mobile Home Run Derby, live on Netflix. The biggest sluggers in baseball put their talents to the test on All-Star Weekend. Raw power meets star power. Big swagger meets bigger slams. And you don't swing to make contact. You swing to make history. Watch the T-Mobile Home Run Derby live on Netflix, Monday, July 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Need a laptop that's built to perform and designed to last all day? Select Windows 11 PCs starting at $499.99 are now at Best Buy. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
Hey, I like your new RAV4.
Thanks, yours too.
What does RAV stand for anyway?
To me, it's the Remarkably Advanced Vehicle.
Really? To me, it's the Runway Approved Vehicle for its amazing style.
What about Remarkably Adaptable Vehicle because of its versatile cargo space?
Or Really Admired Vehicle?
Oh, or Really Awesome Vehicle.
It really is the recreational activity vehicle. The stylish 2026 Toyota RAV4 Limited. What's your RAV4?
This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And in a message, there is no appeasing the far left. There's this guy named Scott Wiener, no relation to Anthony Weiner. He is a California state senator, and he's hoping to replace retiring Nancy Pelosi in Congress later this year. Now, he was heading over to a San Francisco trans march. He is a huge supporter of the gay community. Of course, the Pride marches took place in many cities across the country this weekend. And here he is. This is a guy who's really far left in his policies, big supporter of LGBTQ, yet he has the fatal flaw that he's Jewish and he is a supporter of Israel. And so all these folks at the gay march started surrounding him and screaming at him. And he, by the way, is a gay man. And they were shouting that he's terrible on Gaza and also asking him where are his Israeli handlers, but shouting at him, screaming at him, where he had to sort of cower and run away. So this is sort of par for the course with some of these radical extremists. This guy could be far left by most people's accord, but is not far left enough for these people if he has anything to do with Israel, even if he's Jewish himself. That seems to be a very, very dangerous flaw in their mind. And it just goes to show it's their way or no way. And that's a scary, scary place to be. Really scary, scary place to be. Let's go to Bill on the Upper West Side. Go ahead, Bill, line 5.
Rita, I love your show. Always try to hear you whenever you're on the air. Just two thoughts. The caller from the first hour who was advocating a revamp of education to teach the kids about what communism is, he's right on. But all this Democrat socialist talk gives me cause for optimism because Mamdani has gone on national media to say that he will openly defy the Supreme Court decision last week that removed protective status from Syrians and Haitians illegally in this country. We have a friendly Justice Department, and we have a friendly DHS, and we need a test case for him to defy that.
That's an interesting point. You know, Bill, you're right, because he came right out after that decision and said he will not give up any Haitians or any Syrians. You're right. He is clearly defying it.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This episode is brought to you by Google Health. Stop chasing someone else's definition of health. What matters is what's healthy for you. Google Health offers a new kind of coach built with Gemini for effortless tracking, sleep insights, and holistic coaching tailored to you. Visit googlestore.com to learn more and start a new relationship with your health. Requires Google account, Google Health app, internet, and Google Health premium subscription. Features subject to change. Availability and results vary. Not intended for medical purposes. Works independently of Gemini apps. Check responses for accuracy.
Rita Cosby is on.
Well, longtime Democrat, the raging Cajun, James Carville, is running away from the Democratic Socialists. I never thought I'd say this, but James Carville seems to be a bit of a voice of reason. There's not that many Democrats out there that are speaking out against them. They seem afraid of them, no matter how crazy they are. Here is James Carville talking about, this is Daria Lisa Chevalier. This is one of the ones who won last week. She's the one who said she wiped her hands with the American flag. What a lovely individual. And here's James Carville saying he doesn't want them in his Democratic Party.
Mr. Valier, the New York Times reported, and I have the quote right here, I'll get to it. She is against passed off all her views. She has attacked interracial relationships in the American flag. Lady, I ain't in the same party as you. I'm sorry. I just not. And I actually do think it's time for Democrats to talk the S word, schism. I really do. Everybody's always said, no, we're coalition, we're big tent. And there's just some that I can't be in the same tent with. And we talk about what Madame was 3 for 3 last night in Manhattan. They call it the Commie Corridor. Fine. Jason Crow's service pack, vote bets, 10 for 11. You wouldn't know Jason Crow exists. Okay.
No, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't know, you wouldn't know how Bill Sandberg exists. You wouldn't know. I want to be very specific. I understand the free press for being here because if they nominated David Duke or something like that, we'd be the same way. I understand all that. To the extent I understand the Times, because they are the New York Times, so they have to cover, they are the hometown newspaper. But the idea that we must neglect everything else that's going on, all of these other primaries, all the recruits Jason has, all huge, phenomenal successes we've had, and declare that the party is now under the control of the Democratic Socialists of New York City is insane. But understand, these people do not like Democrats. Not only are they not Democrats, they wish Democrats poorly. So I just cannot. Maybe there's a way that you can say to, I guess Madame is the leader of it, is, you insist that, try to insist that the people that run under your banner run as a Democratic Socialist and don't use the Democratic Party as your guideline, and let's negotiate the terms of a schism here. Maybe we can part under some kind of advantageous terms for both of us. But I'm done. I'm not in a political party. I am totally comfortable in a political party that spends time questioning the policies of the government of Israel. In fact, I'm enthusiastic about that. I don't want to be in a political party that denies the right of the state of Israel to exist. That's just not, I just can't do that. I'm sorry. It's just not doable.
They are a great gift to Donald Trump.
Wow. So that is Carville. Now, listen, Carville has Trump derangement syndrome. We've talked about that. He's on steroids, Trump derangement syndrome. There's no doubt about it. I just wish that Carville was sounding the alarm when Mamdani and some of these others were bashing Israel a while ago, because they've been bashing Israel for quite some time. If you go to the DSA platform, it's like all over there. Everything is anti-Israel. It looks like it's written almost by Hamas. And then Bill just brought up a good point, too, that they think they can live by their own rules, that Mamdani won't enforce the Supreme Court of the United States ruling on deportation protections for Haitians and Syrians. He's essentially saying we will never accept that. So he's now openly saying he's going to defy that. He's also saying that if Netanyahu were to come to New York, he would have him arrested. I mean, this is a guy who seems to think that he can live by his own rules. And Bill brought up a good point. Let's see if it's ever tested. Because what happens when Mamdani comes here, he's protected, of course, by Secret Service and by the Mossad. Do you think in a million years the Secret Service or Mossad would ever allow Zoran Mamdani to arrest Netanyahu? And also, if he doesn't want to deport these individuals, what if he actively plays a role in protecting them from deportation if it ever got to that? Is he in complete defiance? And could that mean that he himself or somebody else who played a role in that could be arrested? It's an interesting question. There may be some tests coming soon, to Bill's point. Meantime, on the Iran front, tomorrow there are supposed to be talks. Actually, it's today because it's today in Iran already, but in a few hours, there's supposed to be talks in Doha, Qatar, talking about Iran. And this would be with U.S. officials and others, obviously, and with Iran and Pakistan and all those others. And it seems like Iran is really testing Trump and testing U.S. mettle. That's because they keep doing these attacks on Bahrain and Kuwait, on U.S. bases there, and they keep firing on ships in the Strait of Hormuz. And Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, who is back. I love Caroline. Here she is, talking about the mission that President Trump has at hand, and she also has a big message for Iran.
Violence will be met with violence. As you mentioned, Brian, there were attacks on commercial vessels that the United States of America, directed by the president, responded to, and that will continue to happen, but we hope we don't see that. The president obviously wants to see the peace process play out, and the Iranians would be best to sign a good deal with the United States of America because the president has proven he's unafraid to use the might of our military. Look at Operation Midnight Hammer. Look at Operation Epic Fury. Either way, though, the United States of America wins. If the peace process plays, this MOU continues, gas prices will continue to tumble. We're seeing crude is lower than it was prior to the start of this excursion, as the president calls it. Or if Iran chooses to be a bad actor, they'll prove themselves to be the pariah of the Middle East. They've totally alienated themselves from their Gulf and Arab partners in the region. And the United States of America has the best and strongest military in the world. The president retains the right to use it.
And the president may have to use it soon. If they keep doing this and they keep disturbing the Strait of Hormuz, President Trump is not going to put up with this much longer. He's a patient man, but you can tell his patience is running out. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Max in Manhattan on line 5. Go ahead, Max.
Yes, Rita, thank you for taking my call. In around 1812, we were having the Barbary Wars with the Barbary pirates. And that's a euphemism. That's a nice way of saying Muslim pirates. So I think it would be a nice little nickname to give Mamdani, to call him the Barbary Pirate.
Ah, very interesting. Now, how do you think he'd handle that? He'd say it's Islamic. I can tell you. He'd say it's Islamophobic. You know it.
And to add that insult to injury, I don't know what Islamophobia means. To me, it means the fear of Islam. That's not an insult.
Well, I think in his particular mind, it means anything that people don't like, right? That they blame it on, whereas we go, wait a minute. And if you look at the numbers, this is the one thing that's so stunning. There is such an increase of anti-Semitic attacks. It's all over the place. And yet, he doesn't want to admit that. Everything is is anti-Muslim. It's Islamophobia. It's all that stuff. It's all those different things. And you could see that that's where he was going on the campaign. Remember that story, Max, that he had on the campaign trail about his aunt who, said that she got a dirty look or something. And that was at a time, that was at a time when there were, and still are, sadly, a lot of very serious anti-Semitic attacks. And yet he was worried about his auntie getting a dirty look.
Yes. Now, let me add something to this. I see a lot of Muslims coming on YouTube often saying, oh, you took our land, the West took our land, the big Satan and the little Satan took our land. What about all the land that's been taken? For example, let's take North Africa. Egypt used to be about 90% Christian. Now it's about 10% Christian. How about we take Constantinople? Constantinople was originally Greek, and in 1453 the Turks took it over. Have they given it back yet? Have the Turks given it back? No. What
about? By the way, what about Max? How about all the stolen land from the Indians? How about like when Obama? Let's go to modern times. Remember at the last thing that just happened at the library opening, Obama's library. They started out apologizing for stolen land and then continued, and apparently haven't paid the contractors. So that's a doozy, right, Max?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yes.
That's a good one.
And I think we should look. You look at Ethiopia. The northern part of Ethiopia was Eritrea, and it was originally Christian Ethiopia. It was taken over by the Muslims, and now it's a Muslim conquest called Eritrea.
Well, and by the way, Max, were you hearing us talk about Jan Sobieski earlier? That's the Polish king, and that's the one who stopped the Muslim invasion. That was in the 1600s. So there's been a history of this, and I think their message is pretty clear. Max, very interesting discussion. Let's go to Robert in Philadelphia, line 2. Go ahead, Robert.
Hi, Rita. As always, it's wonderful to talk to you. And I wanted to touch a little bit on what that call was just saying. And there was also the Maronites in Lebanon. And it's currently today going on with the kidnapping and rape and killing of Christians across the African continent.
Yeah, Nigeria. Look at what's happening in Nigeria. It's horrible.
Yep. The only people in this world as a group that are committing anything close to genocide is the Islamists. And Mamdani likes to cover for them. But Mamdani was crowing about that school start program that he got going as a promise fulfilled. But we know that Hochul gave him state money to do that. And after next year, he's going to have to raise taxes to keep it going. Hochul did it just because he had an election coming up. So buckle up, people, and keep your eye open. Joaquin is absolutely right. Rita, you have a great night, all right?
Robert, thank you. And you made some great points there because you're right. Hochul is doing it because it is pure and simply an election year, and she wants to stay in Mamdani's good graces. And that is very bad news for New York. But you're right. Next year, it's going to be like, oh, shoot, we don't seem to have the money for X. Sorry about that. And this policy, I mean, you think about what's already happened with Mamdani, and it hasn't been that long that he's been in office. It's been just the one thing, and I've said this, Robert, and I don't necessarily mean it as a compliment, but he has stuck to his political promises. I mean, he made some very dramatic promises on the campaign trail. And I said to all of you, you may recall, I said, this guy is a true believer. This guy is someone who definitely stands by his position. And this is a different cat. This is a whole different ball game. And these other Democratic Socialists are riding that same wave. And when you believe them, when they say they want open borders, believe them. Do you want to see what we saw before, but even exponentially? Football fields of people coming across every single day like a caravan. Come one, come all. Keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. What is that going to do to this country? It's going to take generations to clean up after Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is going to look like a little prick, a little tip of the iceberg, compared to everybody else. And I worry about that, Robert. I mean, can you imagine, Robert, if a Democratic Socialist candidate gets picked for the White House? I mean, what do you think that could do to America?
I think that the Democratic Socialists, it's like there's an attempt to break them off from so-called normal socialists. I don't know any normal socialists nowadays. As far as I was concerned, the Democratic Socialists are doing what Democrats have been priming themselves for 20 years. And a prior person that you were talking to got it right. this plays well for Republicans nationally. Let them have their wins in their blue areas, and sadly, them blue areas by 2028, New York is going to be on every campaign that the Republicans are going to put out for the election because of the exodus and the decrease and the deterioration of what should be the Emerald City. Rita, I know I'm from Philly, but New York was always the Emerald City, and it's sad to see it brought down like this, but let it be an example for the rest of the country, and that's all I got.
No, great points. And Robert, I firmly believe that, like Democratic Socialists said, gosh, if we could have a candidate in the heart of capitalism in the world, New York, with Wall Street and Times Square and everything, if we can have a Democratic Socialist, imagine the impact we could have across the country and the message it would send across the globe. And sadly, it's happening. And you're right. It is a frightening premise of what's happening. And think about, what if it's a double term of Mayor Mamdani? Buckle up, guys. Buckle up. 1-800-848-9222. And everybody will continue your calls right after the break. But first, support our heroes.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Support Our Heroes.
And this is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Support Our Heroes segment with a very powerful story from Greenville, South Carolina, where the First Presbyterian Church of Greenville honored a longtime member and World War II veteran during Sunday service. The church honored World War II veteran Bill Quarles, who is celebrating his 103rd birthday later in July. Now, veteran Quarles is an upstate native, and he graduated from Clemson University. I won't hold that against him because I did go to University of South Carolina. And during World War II, he served in the Army Air Corps as a bomber pilot for the 13th Army Group in the South Pacific. Senator Lindsey Graham said that veteran Quarles was presented with a flag that was flown over the South Carolina Capitol in his honor. And also Senator Lindsey Graham gave a great speech about veteran Quarles' service to America. And he also spoke about the United States' 250th birthday. Sounds like a beautiful, beautiful event. And everybody help America to never, ever forget. Donate just $11 a month to the incredible Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Be sure to check them out at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
The Rita Cosby Show
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And tomorrow night is a big primary night. Will another Democratic Socialist get in? Or maybe could the trend stop in New York? Let's see what happens. This is going to be a big one, too, if they can topple someone who's been 29 years in Colorado. Also, Hickenlooper, I believe, also has a Democratic Socialist challenger. So there's a number of them in the race tomorrow night. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Eduardo in Tampa Bay. Go ahead, Eduardo.
Yeah, good evening. I don't know if you got a chance to see that bully, Cabello, Mr. Cabello from Venezuela, tell that aid worker to take a hike. And that is the bullying that's happening in New York, L.A., and Chicago.
No, so tell me what happened, Eduardo. Tell me what happened.
Well, there was an aid worker who wanted to assist some of the earthquake victims, and that Interior Minister Cabello that I talked about before.
Right. That's the one who was buddies with Maduro in Venezuela. Right.
Yeah, and that's somebody who needs to be arrested, put in his place. And He's a bully. You have bullies like Mondami, Brandon Johnson, Karen Bass. They are brought up with this education, through the education. Anytime you see an interview, it's an interview by a college professor. It's ridiculous. Anything centers around college, getting an education through a 4-year, and they wind up being in debt, and then they don't own anything. They don't own a car, a house, you name it.
Yeah, they don't own anything, and that's why they even they feel like they're qualified. I love the fact that, what did you make of this woman who's running tomorrow night, last name Kiros, saying her qualifications are she's a barista. I mean, that really sounds great, huh?
You know what the word is that they're using on the left? Empathy. That's the word that they're using, empathy. Have empathy, you Republicans.
Yeah, have empathy, and then affordability is the other thing.
Right.
And yet they have zero empathy for those who were attacked on October 7th. They seem to have zero empathy for those who work hard and help others. They seem to have zero empathy for ICE workers who are trying to deport some of the worst, especially violent criminals. They seem to have empathy not for police, because it's defund police with them. Pray for America, guys.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?